Welcome to Navigating Life After 40, the podcast that's all about helping women navigate this exciting and sometimes challenging phase of life. I'm your host, Roni J, and I'll be here sharing some of my own personal experiences, chatting with experts and a few friends, and also providing some practical advice and support to help you live your best life after 40. Let's get started. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Navigating Life After 40. I am Roni. Today, I'm here with Dr. Katashia. Welcome to the podcast, Dr. Katashia.
Thank you so much, Ronnie, for having me. Very grateful.
Yeah, thank you for being here. So many of us are managing stress, y'all, hot flashes, mood swings, sleepless nights. I had one last night. Oh my God. Matter of fact, the past 3 nights have been sleepless for me. We don't realize how much it impacts our nervous system and how that plays a huge role in how intense our symptoms feel. So, Dr. Katashia is here today. She is a wellness practitioner and educator specializing in sound therapy. And this is something when I talked to her, I was like, I never thought about equating this to menopause. But in doing some research, it actually works. So she specializes in sound therapy and integrative healing. Her work helps women reduce stress, restore balance, and thrive, especially during menopause. So let's hop into this conversation. Let's give a chance to know Dr. Katashia and just learn about, just what inspired your work in wellness and in therapy, in this form of sound therapy.
Oh, that's a loaded question, but I'll just we all have a story, and
Hmm.
I believe that's where it all started for me. For years, I suffered with fibroids. I live with stage 3 endometriosis, and for years, my husband and I, we were trying to get pregnant. And over time, of course, every time I got my period, a part of me would die because I'm thinking this will be the month to get pregnant. And unfortunately, at the age of 36, I had a hysterectomy, never been pregnant. And that alone threw me into this deep depression, a very deep silence that everyone could hear. I wanted to, of course, went to church and prayed and doing all these things, going through this way therapy to navigate this part of my life, but something I felt like was still missing. And one of my friends knew that I wasn't able to sleep, just with the stress of going through
Mhm.
infertility. At that point, it's a strain on your marriage. And she invited me out to my first sound bath. And I never heard of a sound bath. And she said, let's, go with me. She was really into wellness. And I'm like, sure, why not? And I went. And that was the first time I slept in months. That was the first time I felt like an emotional release. I listening to the sounds and the vibrations, I was opening up in ways that I've never opened up before. I felt the vibrations move through me, and it just seemed like things were just coming, like literally releasing. Had this out of body experience, like I was floating on this cloud, like I saw myself, and just had this uncontrollable crying. And I was able to rest and sleep. And my friend allowed me to sleep with the facilitator. Everyone was gone when they woke me up.
Mhm.
And that's when I knew I needed to know more about what sound therapy is or sound bath through the different instruments. And that's how I actually got started in sound therapy meditation.
Nice, nice. I know I've heard your story before, and so thank you for sharing, your journey because there are many women who are dealing with hormonal challenges and they have not been able to bear children, and that's something that they've desperately wanted for so many years. But moving into this part of wellness, into sound therapy, I'm really amazed by that because I remember you shared that with me when I first had an opportunity to talk to you, and I was just like, sound therapy, and I'm just somebody that's in the field, like being in mental health for over 20 years. Um, I think it's not something that's been top of mind for me because for so many of us, it's so new hearing about sound
Right.
therapy. So, can you share with just the listeners what is sound therapy and what was beyond just that experience of being able to sleep well for you? What other things does it do? Like, how does it help women?
Right. And it's interesting because when it comes to, when we talked and listening to your story, I am a clinical pharmacist. I've been a clinical
Mhm.
pharmacist now for over 20 years. I am an integrative health practitioner. And, as a pharmacist, we think we know health and wellness, but I truly did not know wellness until I went through my infertility journey and navigated the space of trying to learn my body and be self aware. Um, and sound therapy, when you think about it, I always tell people, you have sound therapy every day. When you're driving in your car and you have your favorite song playing, that's sound therapy. One of my favorite gospel songs is Total Praise by Richard
Okay.
Smallwood. I don't care
Yes.
anytime I hear this song, if it's on the radio or if at church, I get these chills that go through my body and I have this emotional release. I cry and I praise. So I always tell people, think about that about sound therapy, because even though sound therapy is different, say in your car, but when you come in to experience I guess a session is through different instruments. So sound therapy, meditation is literally quiet the mind with a soundtrack. That's what I always tell people. And the
Mhm.
total
Mhm.
bath is meditation, the same thing, quieting your mind, but with instruments that actually give off vibrations and its frequency to help you to relax. So a lot of times people's like, oh, I can't meditate. I can't shut my brain off. And I was the same way. Don't get me wrong. I couldn't meditate for 5 minutes, but it takes a practice
Same
like
here.
a lot of people's like, "I can't shut my brain off." I know I can't do that, and I can't sit here and tell you that I did it because I didn't either. But I
Mhm.
was very intentional about my healing journey, and I wanted to learn more. And one of the strategies for me was a sound bath and learning more in that space. So a sound bath is literally a meditation with music, a musically guided meditation through different instruments. The different instruments, such as like singing bowls, you probably seen those, or
Mhm.
they give off these beautiful sounds, these tones to help you to relax. Because a lot of times, all of us, we live in beta state. When we think about our brain waves, we live in beta. That's booked and busy. That's where we stay all the time. And we think that's normal. But when you come to a session, we're looking to get you in a theta delta brain state to help you to relax, restore the energy. And people think, oh, I'm just going to sleep. Sound therapy or coming to a sound bath can help you, of course, relax. It can help you improve your sleep, reduce your
Mhm.
stress. With science, it's been shown to reduce your cortisol to do what? Again, help reduce your stress, help lower your blood pressure. And going through all these things are things that I was going through, having high blood pressure, not able to sleep. And I always tell people to be able to have an emotional release and be self aware of your body is what sound therapy can do for you. And navigating now, yes, I'm not in the space of trying to conceive anymore. I have hit perimenopause, and this is now even bigger for me to help women to relax or understand that sound therapy can literally calm your nervous system. This is a part of self-care that I think is really underrated, because a lot of times, yeah, I
Yeah.
like to get my nails done, get my hair done. But when it comes to self-care and sound therapy, this is a way to calm your nervous system. Your nervous system is literally your body's communication system. It tells you how to think, how to feel, how to move. And the nervous system works by two modes. You're always in fight or flight or rest or digest. And most of the time we're fighting for our lives every day. And sound therapy can literally give you that opportunity, that time for you, or giving you permission to pause throughout your day.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. You made some valid points, and I don't think a lot of times we equate meditation to, helping to calm out. We know it can help calm the nervous system. We know it can help us focus, but we
Mhm.
don't put it in terms of like how like perimenopause and menopause, like hormonal challenges that we're
Right.
dealing with. We don't and mostly because most of us don't understand. I'll be honest with you,
Yeah.
as being in this field for a very long time, I was just like, I don't what is that? Because it was never talked about. I've been in it over 20, like 25 years at this point. I was like, it was never talked about. Meditation, those type of things were I think they became newer to me maybe about 5 or 6 years ago. meditation, and that's, I would hear about it and I would see people doing it, and I would try it, but I was like, all I do is go to sleep, which is not a bad thing,
Right.
but I'm just like, I can't focus. And then of course I remember working at this company that's very well known. And
Mhm.
so before every meeting, they would do meditation practices. And so I was like, why we gotta do this? Because all
Really?
I'm gonna do is go to sleep. Yeah. And it would help to calm us. But in my mind, I'm just got the camera off and I'm just looking at everybody because I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do it because I'm gonna go to sleep. Or, I was one of those people too. I couldn't shut my brain off, especially at night. And I remember doing this app called Balance, and they
Mhm.
took you through this journey. It was kind of like they were teaching you how to meditate and training you that even when your thoughts and you start wandering off, how to
It
bring them back.
bring it back.
Yeah. And so, and it's also something that's a continual practice that you have to do
Yes.
until you get used to it. And so a lot of people don't know that. They'll try like one and done. And I've been guilty of that, like one and done. And then I also would tell people, like with meditation, start small and work your way up. Because if you start at 20 minutes and you haven't done this before, it ain't
It's
gonna work.
done with it. This is not for me. And
Yeah.
5 minutes is where I started.
Yeah, yeah, it's not gonna work. And so just thinking about, the sound baths that you mentioned and just those bowls, I used to wonder like, what are those people doing? I didn't know. I would see it on TV, I see it on social media, and I will be honest with you, I was like, and this is another one of those things where you have to really take the time to understand and do some research rather than judging. Because I was like, are they in a cult? What are they doing? That's what I
Okay, let me and I will say this, I never thought sound therapy would leave my house because this is something my husband and I did together. Yes, it took a very dark time for me to find this space, but I have had this conversation I'm talking about when you mentioned a cult, right?
Yeah.
With people because, of course, they think, 1, I'm weird or they don't understand why I don't, believe in God or whatever they have come to me to say. But I always tell people, I'm deeply rooted in my faith, but also there are other ways of healing. And I am open. I have an open heart and mind to be able to experience things that can help me to relax or help me through my space of infertility at that time. And now I realize, yeah, it helped me through that part of my life. But now it can help through perimenopause and the menopause space. So it's all you got to have an open mind and an open heart to
Yeah.
receive. Even when it came to infertility and IVF, I had that conversation with people then, oh, that's not of God and different things, right? But
Mhm.
he gave us the medication, the tools, the science to do IVF. And so that's how I look at sound therapy.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when I have those sessions, my sessions with especially new people that come in to be able to explain to them what sound therapy or a sound bath is and have them at the end to have a reflection of how they feel after the session is mind blowing because they came in not really truly understanding, then to be able to explain and then have them experience it and then at the end to
Yeah.
be able to tell me how they feel it's amazing
Yeah.
because like you said no I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee in the hood. So, no, wellness wasn't there. But one
Yeah.
of the things my mentor told me in this space, and he lives in California, he said this was life for him. If sound therapy or yoga and those Pilates, those different things, if he knew that at a very early age. And so for him talking to me saying, "Oh, I've never experienced this until 5 or 6 years ago," that's weird to him because that's life. That's how he's
Mhm.
lived his life. And he's Asian, but his family, his parents, his life has been rooted in Eastern medicine, which they know that's been around for years, right?
Yeah.
So to
Yeah.
be able to talk to other cultures and how they looking at me like, well, that's weird. You've never experienced sound therapy. You've never done a sound bath before. And I'm looking at him like I wasn't exposed because I didn't have the means or the access to that. But now that I
Mhm.
have found it, I want to be able to share it with more people who look like me and especially women in this space.
Yeah. I agree with that. And that's what it was for me. It had to take some learning and some research because I was just like, what are they doing? Because I didn't know what it was. And as you mentioned, like when you grow up in certain places, things are not, you don't have access to those things.
Exactly.
We didn't talk about those. And I totally get it. I was your neighbor over in Little Rock, Arkansas. So I know, it wasn't something that was there too. And so for those of us who it was like maybe foreign to, we're just kind of like, we're lost because we don't take the time to be curious and explore and ask questions and do research. And so
Exactly.
that's what it took for me was, let me do some research and see exactly what this is, because it looks a little weird when you see it, but it's because you don't we don't understand it. um and you made another really good point earlier that I never thought of, and that is, there are so many different sounds that we have around us, and I don't think I've never even thought about that until you just mentioned it, because the sound of a fan. So
Mhm.
sometimes, like at night, I'll sleep with the ceiling fan on one because I be, hot flashes and
Yes.
ice sweats. But I like the sound of hearing something as I'm, going to sleep. And the sound of a fan or white noise is
Right.
something that helps me. Yeah, it helps me to rest and calm down. And also just listening to my breathing. So I always, like with some patients that I still see, I always talk about things like deep belly breathing,
Mhm.
4-7-8 practices, really paying attention to the breath and how to put your hand on your belly and just focus that way, especially if you're somebody who struggles with sleep. But I never really thought of, like, man, maybe this, I never thought about that, just taking that sound and letting it be something that kind of helps me to
Relax.
calm down. Yeah, relax. I never equated those two. So
And
thank you for
even
bringing that up.
Oh, no, I thank you for having me to be able to share. And sound therapy is not like you said, it's not hard. Like you said, the sound of the fan
Mm.
in your bedroom. I still, work in a hospital, and in my office, I share an office with 6 people, with 5 other
Mm.
people, and one of the young ladies brought a humidifier to our office, and every day, I cannot live without the noise in the background, because if not, it's super quiet in the office, but once that
Yeah.
I hear that sound from that humidifier, it's relaxing, and I always tell people, even though you may not can make it to a sound bath or a session every day or every night, you can have your own session in your home or at work with you.
Mhm.
I have speakers that I have, that I purchased for work where I can play at my desk, play about 8 minutes, just those tones and those sounds to help me to relax. You can if you have a phone, there's in your, Apple Store or your Apple Music where you can play, sound, meditation music to be able to listen at
Yeah.
your desk, going outside to take a walk and let the sun, beam on you for a little while. There's little things you can do every day to relax your nervous system. And like
Yeah.
you mentioned before, it's just taking those little small steps to be able to build on it. Don't go ahead first into a marathon if you really haven't trained. That's the same thing with meditation.
Mhm.
It's just taking those really small steps throughout the day, because I never thought that sitting outside in the sun would just give me that release that I would need, and that's amazing as well. So there's little things you can do to help relax your nervous system during this phase of our life, perimenopause and
Yeah.
menopause.
Yeah. And speaking of that, we'd love for you to explain us just how the nervous system impacts menopause symptoms like hot flashes and anxiety and insomnia. If you can share a little bit more information on that for us.
Yeah, so our nervous system, like I mentioned before, lives in 2 modes. You have fight or flight, or you have rest and digest, which is the calming mode of that. And when it comes to perimenopause, menopause, we're more sensitive to, meaning more stress, anxiety, all those things. And so what can we do, or what practices we can actually incorporate into our lives to help us to relax? And you mentioned breathing, 4-7-8, and different things. I attend breath work in my life. Not mention I have been intentional, and I also strategize to help me to relax in this perimenopause space. I have an aura ring to show me when I'm stressed out,
Okay.
midday, right? That help calm my nervous things that help me calm my nervous system and to get back into balance. And that's something we really truly must do. One of my colleagues posted this week about having a strategy and not being intentional. So, yeah, people tell you to be intentional about calming your nervous system, but what is your strategy to do that? And again,
Mm.
the strategy is, for me, I would mention breath work. YouTube, you can go on to YouTube. I personally have someone to help me through breath work to help me on Sundays to do breathing to relax. I always thought I was breathing. I'm like, "I'm breathing. What are you talking
Yeah.
about?" But
Yeah.
what I mean by breathing, like truly doing those belly breaths, I have a pelvic PT that I use in this space as well. And she's the one that actually told me, you don't know how to breathe right. So using your belly to breathe to relax your nervous system. And so I started doing that. And I think that's an important way to bring yourself back into balance. Also, being able to, if you're able to attend a sound therapy session, again, it's not a one and done. You can literally do this as many times as you want, 1 or 2 times a week, or 2 or 3 times a month, to be able to bring yourself to a place of rebalance because our hormones are
Yeah.
going to shift. Well, especially in perimenopause, they're fluctuating right now. And I actually had a conversation with someone the other day. She was saying perimenopause, menopause, and all these things. And I told her, truth be told, menopause is one day. That happens, your anniversary of 12 months of not having that period, that's
Mhm.
menopause. So really,
Mhm.
we're navigating in two spaces here when it comes to our nervous system. Really, perimenopause when our hormones are fluctuating, right? Versus post-menopause when we are really trying to find our rhythm. So we kind of
Yeah.
feel off in both of those stages. And so this is where balancing or rebalancing our nervous system can happen because we can be stressed, we can have anxiety, and it can hit us really hard. So that's where we're really trying to navigate this space. And I feel like as a pharmacist, I love bridging science and soul, to be able to talk about my clinical knowledge in this space but
Yeah.
also bring in an integrative health, being able to understand our bodies through nutrition and stress, but also ways to reduce that stress. And I think when it comes to perimenopause, menopause, having these different tools in our toolbox, not because it's weird, it's because it's necessary.
Yeah. And I like what you mentioned about just being intentional. For a lot of women, we're always on the go. We have
Oh,
so
wait.
many, responsibilities. And then you have these hormones you're dealing with, and we're just like,
Mhm,
oh, I have this and I have that. And so a lot of times people are blowing my phone up and they're asking me questions like, what are you doing for hot flashes or night sweats? And so I share like, like, hey, these are some natural things I do. This is also some, medical stuff that I'm on,
mhm,
but then I always talk to them too about like, exercise. How are you moving your body? Are you really being intentional about that?
mhm,
Are you practicing deep breathing exercises? I talk about those things. And I think I talk more about deep breathing now because, like you, I was recently, well, I've heard about breath work before,
mhm.
but recently I started doing it because I got access to an app called Breathwork
Okay.
and it was free. And so I was like, what is this? And so I played around with it and it just kind of guides you and you watch it and, it expands to tell you to
Mm.
inhale and exhale and you just keep watching it and you can set how long you want to do that for. So yeah, I like that about being intentional. I don't think we're really as intentional as we should be about trying to help manage some of these symptoms. We're just on the go, but it's when do you take a pause in your day, whether it's the start of your day, some point throughout, or the end of your day, just to do something to kind of help manage this while you're going through it?
Breath work, I'm glad you mentioned breath work because I am a fan. I do it. I have a breath work coach. I love him to death.
Oh,
And I know I met him and he's a part of my wellness routine because when I think about, again, I'm in healthcare all day, every day
mhm.
right now, and not on a wellness journey. And I teach this as well. And I know that a lot of times, insurance and all these things, we look, oh, yeah, pay. For me, I'm looking to prevent things, right? And I'm willing to give that extra mile to be able to heal myself. And breath
Yeah.
work is one of those things that signals safety to your brain. Just taking those deep belly breaths, letting your brain know that you're safe. Because even if you're navigating, of course,
Mhm.
midlife after 40, of course, when it comes to perimenopause and menopause, if we're always, like I mentioned, in the beta brainwave and booked and busy, how do your body know it's safe to relax? Because right now is
Yeah.
like all over the place moving. And right now, I feel like breath work, sound therapy, giving yourself permission to pause. And when you do, your body literally realize, okay, it's okay. I'm safe and I can be able to function. Because if you chronically stress, your body feels like I'm not in a safe space to do anything, to relax,
Mhm.
to eat, because if you're a chronically stress and you're in the fight or, fight or flight mode, you can't digest well. Now you got gut issues. It's like everything happens when we're here. And right now we're just asking you to intentionally pause, to stop. And what strategies and what tools are you going to do that? If it's to listen to your favorite song, if that's walking, being able to have that deep connection and being able to be self-aware of the things you need to do. And I am okay, like you mentioned, certain supplements, that those foundational things to add on. If you know that, you know what, I can't get to a sound therapy session, what can
Mhm.
I do? There's things, hormonally, I mean, supplements and things like that you can actually do to help you to relax, and that's fine. I'm not against that. But also, we also want to try to do the things that can help us naturally to get us to calm down some.
Yeah, yeah, I like that and I agree. Um, so for those of you listening, it's about you have to practice being intentional.
You gotta practice.
Yeah, yeah, so that you can, as you mentioned, it's all about preventing things, and we don't think about that. Because even as you were talking about just how deep breathing and sound therapy and all of that helps with even blood pressure, lowering that. I remember watching this lady on social media. That's what came up for me, and she was saying how she always had high blood pressure issues until she started learning how to do breathing practices.
Mm,
And she noticed a change in her blood pressure. It started to go down. So when she was going to the doctor was like, "Well, what's happening? Your numbers are, looking better." And she had to share with him, like, I learned how to do these breathing practices, and she does them every day. And I thought that was amazing, and especially for, again, for someone who looks like us to talk about this and share that, because I know I try to get my mom to do it, and she's just like, "What's that?" And so I try to walk her through, this is how you do it. But she's older, she ain't gonna do all that. Imma try to convince her, yeah, Imma try to
I
convince
have
her to
one of
get
those too.
unstuck.
I have one. I have one I'm trying to convince. Well, I'm with you. I have one of those too that's hard-headed, but I'm saying that it has changed my life, Ronnie. It truly has, and
Yeah,
I'm super excited about it because to be able to share it and to have women come up to me after if I'm speaking somewhere or if they attend a session to say, "I did not know about this. I feel amazing," because I do some guided breath work before we even get into our session. And just being able to relax. And some people are like, I needed this because I wouldn't do it any other time. So this is where I mentioned, we both mentioned it being intentional, but like I mentioned before, my colleague mentioned having that strategy. What are your strategies to get
yeah,
this done? Because no one's going to stop. Time is not going to stop for us, right? So what are
mhm,
you going to do to help yourself to give yourself permission to relax? Because otherwise, life is going to keep going and we're going to keep moving, and my goal is to be able to share my love for this so women can pause with me to relax. And that's important.
yeah. I like that. Women can pause with you. I know a lot of people are curious. I know we talked about a little bit about the experience of a sound bath, but for those who are listening, because I know I'm curious and they're probably like, what is the experience like? So
Okay.
if you could paint a setup for us, like
Okay.
what will we experience, walking in, going through the process, if you could just paint that picture for us.
So my sound therapy sessions, my sound baths are called good vibes only. Vibes stands for the V in vibes
Hmm.
stands for visualize your intention. So just like I mentioned,
I
so
like
what is
that.
your goal for coming to the sound therapy session that particular day? That's number one. Two is the I is immerse yourself in sound. So allow yourself to have an open mind, open heart to be able to bring in or listen to the sounds that's in the room to help you to relax. B is breathe. So we're going to breathe, and my goal is for you to let it go because this is your time to your permit the time you gave yourself to relax. E is that emotional release that I mentioned about um, letting go. And then you may cry, you're gonna feel the feels, you may feel tingling, you're gonna feel something, you may not, but most people do. And that's where you wanna be able to have that emotional release so you can be able to relax. And the S stands for surrender to silence. This is your time to literally let that silence be so loud it allows you to relax. So I go through my vibes framework at my sound bath session. So when you come in the door, it's actually being held in person at a chiropractor's office. And he's a holistic chiropractor. He's my chiropractor. He's amazing. And his whole clinic is a vibe. He's a musician by heart or training. Musician turned chiropractor. So
Mhm.
he has beautiful paintings and different things on the wall. And when you first walk in, you see good vibes only. So you're coming in to that. I'm at the door. I'm greeting everyone, so giving them a hug and just letting them know it's a safe space. When you come in, there is an opportunity to. We do two things. You can actually write a note to yourself, meaning remember the V is visualize your intention. You can drop it in a box. Basically, this is what you're letting go. So if you came and you just had a fight with your partner, or if your kid just got on your nerves, whatever it is, work is getting, all those things. I want you to write it down and drop it. Because when you come through the door, this threshold here, this is leaving things right here. So you be able to relax. If we don't do the drop your let it go at the box, we actually journal on our mat. So you can come in at your space, sit, where you would like to relax, your mat, because I always tell people bring your mat, bring your pillow, bring your blanket, bring whatever what makes you comfortable. From there, if you don't want to lay down, because I have people say, I got a bad hip, I got a bad back, you can bring your favorite chair. You don't have to lay on the floor with me. Whatever makes you comfortable is where I'm gonna meet you where you are. Bring what makes you comfortable, if it's sitting up or laying down. From there, we just kind of go through vibes and we have an open discussion and we journal. Journaling was one of the things that actually helped me in my infertility space, and I still do it to this day in perimenopause. Writing my thoughts, writing them down, and doing a brain dump. So if we don't stop at the door and drop it in a box, we do a brain dump on our mats because again, we want to visualize our intentions for this session. So you write it all down. You just put everything that's on your mind and you let it go. And from there, I get started with the session. I start with it's called a rain drum. It's called a ocean drum. And with the ocean drum, it sounds like you're sitting on the beach listening to the waves crash into the shore. And that I play that for a while to help you to relax. And I'm just kind of guiding you and breathing you through the first part of the session. From there, I actually start playing the different instruments and I walk around. So you may feel the instruments really close to you or really far from distance. And it's not a big place, but you will feel because I'm walking around the entire time. I'm playing and I'm walking around playing. And then towards the end, I do another meditation, guided meditation, and playing the instruments, helping you to bring yourself back aware to back to the original space that we were in. From there, I give you a second to relax. And there's different aromatherapy is going on in here as well. So you're gonna have different smells. I give you an eye mask to relax. It's a warming eye mask where you're laying down. I've had people to snore. I always tell people if you snore, it's a compliment to me, but your neighbor might not like you because you're bothering them. And I bring them back and they're aware to their body, we have a reflection moment. We talk about how you feel. And one of the things, young lady at my very last session, she said she had MS and she said she's always had this pain and can't relax all the time. But she said in that hour that she was with me, she said she didn't feel anything. She no aches, no pains, and she was able to relax for the very first time. And that was we all felt that when she mentioned that. So having that reflection at the end is amazing as well because you have people. One lady said, I was here, but I wasn't here. She said, I saw me, but I didn't see me. So it was like you in that in
Yeah.
between space. This why you see things that she's like, I'm relaxed. That's the goal is permission to pause. And that's what you come to me for. It's a relaxing space. And from there we continue with our conversation and we leave. Um, I believe that I get more out the session sometimes more than I'm facilitating the session, but I get so much more from the clients because of their ability to express themselves, how they feel after the session. And I'm just a vessel, just facilitating this space for them, but they did all the work to be able to allow themselves to relax. And that's what's important to me. Come in, when you leave, come in and you brain dump or drop your intentions in this box. But when you leave, I want you to leave saying, I want to be able to continue this feeling when I leave here. And that's one of the things I talk about at the end at reflections, like how do you continue to have the feeling that you're having right now? And I give them those tools of, I've mentioned before, Apple Music, or I have those speakers on my Amazon store that I recommend for people to give them an opportunity, not give them opportunity, give them permission for themselves.
Yeah, I like that. And it sounds very nice because I'm visualizing it while you're talking about it. And I think when we talked about it on the phone the first time, I said, I need to attend one of those because it sounds so nice and relaxing. And even also when you were talking, it had me thinking, sometimes we go through different things or we're introduced to stuff because we never know whose lives we're going to impact
Right.
by our own journey. And so just to hear you say how you're probably more impacted than the people, the women that's there, it says a lot about the work that you're doing. And I can tell you're doing because you have this very calm demeanor, and it's very calm and very peaceful. And I love that because it makes me calm and peaceful because
Oh,
I'm somebody like just like right now with all these projects going on, and I have to remind myself sometimes, hey, you need to pause.
you
You
need
got
to
to pause
pause.
a minute. And even even talking to myself out loud here on this show about even just being more intentional with taking those, pauses, those pause moments, and not necessarily waiting to bedtime to do it,
No.
but in the morning, starting my day, just even if it's a couple minutes, and then maybe throughout the day, you know. Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
great point you mentioned that because when I do talk and if I'm speaking somewhere or even in my sessions, I always talk about my 15-minute days, meaning
Hmm.
that I take 15 minutes throughout my day to pause. So, yes, I have my morning meditation, my time for myself. That's when I work out. I do all those things. But
Yeah.
in midday, right in mid morning, I take a moment to breathe, listen to my speakers that I mentioned, and just have that moment for myself just to breathe and calm my nervous system. Then day gets started, seeing patients, and you're like, ah, and then right after lunch, the same thing. I take that moment for me. It could be total chaos in my office, but right now, I'm not paying attention because those 15 minutes are for me. And then go up throughout my day towards the end, that's when you're trying to wrap up your day. Again, I take that time for me because if you don't, no one's gonna give it to you. And so that's why I call it my 15-minute days. So you can make it your 8, your 5, whatever minute you would like to, but giving yourself a moment to just literally just block out things for you. And that could be just breathing even before I speak. Doing deep breathing allows me to relax because public speaking is the number one fear everyone has, right? But
Hmm.
to do some breathing before I go on stage, before I come on a podcast. And I told just be yourself and let it flow. And I believe by giving yourself those times throughout your day, you will see a major difference over time. Nothing happens overnight. I've been doing this for a while, and now I can tune anybody out at this point because if that's something you truly want to do, you would do it.
Yeah,
And that's a
yeah, I
strategy
agree.
to do, and I recommend that for anyone, just having those, 15 minutes, 8, 9, whatever it is, minute days for yourself to stop and relax and breathe.
Yeah, I like that. The 15-minute pause. That's
Yes, the
a
15
that's a whole thing. Yeah, the 15-minute pause. I know there are some people listening to this and they're probably like, "Girl, I hear you. I hear both of y'all."
and they would do it. I know that and they're out there. I know.
Yeah, yeah. And they're like, that sounds all nice and wonderful. I would love to just be somewhere where I can relax. But what would you say to those people who are still just kind of on the fence about, being intentional about just taking these moments to pause and to breathe, or practicing sound baths, or all of the things that we discussed here today? What would you say to those people who are still on the fence, like, girl, I hear you, but what would you say to that person?
I love that because you said, "Girl, I hear you, but" and I can hear and I hear that because not just from listeners, but from people in my life, my friends, my family.
Mhm.
I get it. Um, I hear you, but what are you gonna do for yourself? Meaning, are you gonna wait till the doctor tells you, "Oh, you now you have your labs done, your hormones are fluctuating, things are all over the place, and your blood sugar's creeping up, your cholesterol's creeping up, heart disease is the number one killer in women when it comes to being in this space. So you're gonna wait for something to happen, or you wanna do something now about it?" And for me, I wanted to do something now about it. So I want to share my story and what I'm doing and hope that it resonates because no, I don't have diabetes, but I wear a blood sugar monitor to monitor my blood sugars because I'm in a phase where my blood sugars could creep up because I'm in perimenopause. Um, I noticed that my cholesterol was creeping up. So I did what I started things that I needed to do and I did research for me. Even if you're not able to do the research, you have a tool, you have someone that can help you with that. And I started a GLP because I work out, I do all these things. And why is my weight creeping up? What's going on? It's not a cheat code. It's a way, again, I'm taking control of my life. And yes, my blood pressure was rising. I don't want to have a stroke. I see it every day. So what do I need to do in the interim to help me get better? So I am one of those people that's listening saying, "Oh girl," but because I was there. But now I know that there are tools to get better. And on top of all of that, stress will kill you more than anything else. And
Yes.
not and with stress, I don't want to say that I had the tools or know there are tools out there that can help me to calm down and don't do it. So it takes just one thing at a time. And I would just recommend trying one thing at a time to do it. And if it's not sound therapy, what if you just sit in your car for 5 minutes before you take off from your house or from work or whatever it is to give yourself that moment to relax? So it's always a way to get it done. The question is, are you willing to get it done? Is it that important to you to get it done? And for me, I'm saving my life over here. So my recommendation to you is to save yours as well. And if you feel like that's not something you want to do, then can't even I don't have the words to actually tell you that. I'm telling you that I'm saving my life. And I know I have the tools to do that, and I wanna be able to help you with that. And reducing your stress through meditation or sound therapy or even having the tools if you see your weight is creeping up and, I'm thinking about a GLP or a peptide, I wanna be able to talk to you about that. My goal here is to give you the education, give you the information, and from there, you do what you need to do with it.
I like that. I like that. You hit on a lot of really good points because I know in our community, a lot of times we wait till the ball drops before we want to do something when we have all of these preventative measures now. So it's almost like is no excuse because you can pull up a meditation from anywhere. They have apps,
And
they
they're
have
free.
free apps, they're
They're
on
free.
YouTube. Yeah, they're
People
everywhere.
on YouTube. You have educators like myself on
Mhm.
social media that's educating. Yeah, we're not giving medical advice, I'll say that, but you can at least listen to the information and be able to ask questions or get on someone's schedule to be able to do that. There's no excuse, but I understand most times it takes something for people to really start moving. And my goal is not we don't want that something to happen. Let's do something now about it. And
Yeah.
reducing your stress could be number one. And how are
Yeah.
you gonna do that? And like I mentioned, sound therapy could be one of those things. And you don't have to do it through an in-person session with me. You can go to YouTube and start there.
Do you do virtual sessions as well or all in person?
That's a great question. So starting on November 12th, I'm actually gonna start virtual sessions.
Nice.
Oh, that's really nice that you mentioned that. So when I get done here, I've had so many people who can't come to my in-person sessions. One, I'm in Houston, Texas, and a lot of people do not live here. But being in Texas, but I also have people here in Texas like, hey, I can't get downtown to that location. So I was like, you know what? I did a virtual session for my sorority, and it was an amazing event where I had the equipment to do it. And it worked out
Mhm.
so well. I was like, why not be able to give this to other people who are not able to come to my in-person session, or I can do this online where people can be able to join my community and be able to relax doing this. So, yes, starting November 12th, that is the goal. When I hang up with you, I'm going to turn my fourth bedroom into my wellness studio when I get done.
Nice. I love it. Well, I would definitely love to have information about that to share with the listeners. And also I would love to attend because I'm like you. I need all the tools. I got the Aura ring. It tells me like sometimes I
Relax.
wanted to just be on my phone, say, "Girl, stop." I just wanted to talk to me like that. Stop, take a break. Because it will tell you when you're stressed. It
Yeah,
will
you're
tell
stressed,
you,
highly stressed.
yeah, yeah. It'll tell you your resilience score. So it gives you a lot of really good information. And I know,
Good and bad sleep.
yeah, yeah, and they're kind of expensive. I mean, I think the earlier generations are a little bit cheaper, but to me, it was worth just
It was
buying
worth
it.
every
It's worth it,
penny
every
for me.
penny. Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
me
worth every
too.
penny. And like I mentioned, I know um there are things that I'm doing, but literally I'm out here trying to save my life, and I wanna
Yeah,
be able to share those tools with everyone else.
yeah, and help other women save their lives too in the
Right.
process. So I'm here to save my life and yours too. I really love that. Thank you so much just for having this conversation with me today and talking about the amazing things you're doing and education that you're providing for women. For the woman who feels overwhelmed now, what is one small step you would encourage her to take today?
One that is overwhelmed right now. I'm really big on, I'm an integrative health practitioner. I'm always gonna go to something that I know that we're not always doing. Um, because I'll just say for me, I wasn't. So I'll speak for me. And a lot of times when I have this conversation, um, it's the foundational things that we should be doing, meaning moving our body. Because a lot of times we're not moving. We think that people laugh and I say, "Did you get your 10,000 steps a day?" Or what about just taking time to pause and relaxing? All those, the things that we feel like there is nothing. But I would tell someone to move your body.
Yeah,
Look at, if you're not getting 10,000 steps a day, you're not moving. And that's
yeah,
my goal every day, is to hit 10. So I have an app on my phone that literally does 2 things for me. It reminds me to get up from my desk and walk,
hmm,
and to drink some water, because
hmm,
sometimes before we don't get enough water either. So I'll say 2 things: get up and move, and drink some water. That's just foundational. That's nothing hard to do. A lot of times you can be, "Oh, you know what? I don't drink enough water. I only get maybe 2 or 3 bottles a day." Drink some water, hydrate yourself, and move your body and get 10,000 steps a day. That's just basic. But
yeah,
there's many more things I can mention, but Imma give you those 2.
yeah. It's just
Being
a starting
overwhelmed,
point.
that's a
Yeah,
starting point, because being overwhelmed is like, are you truly being the CEO of your health? If you're not drinking water, or if you're not moving your body, then that's where we need to start.
I
That's
like
outside
that.
of being anything else. Therapy, I can start naming a lot of things, but right now what's free?
Yeah,
Breathing is free
move.
too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Just learning
Breathing
those
is free.
tools. But anyway, moving your body and start drinking some water.
Yeah, I agree.
Start there.
I agree. I love that. The CEO of your health.
Yes.
You dropping all these little tidbits today, and I'm just thinking like, ooh, how you the CEO of your health? I'm gonna have
Are
to
you?
put that
Are you
on
the
one of
CEO of
these.
yourself?
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. I love that. For those listeners who, want to follow you and learn more about what you're doing, how can they find you?
Yes. You can check out my website, drkatashia.com. Let me spell my name. It's DRKATASHIA. So drkatashia.com. You can also follow me on social media, Instagram, Dr. Katashia as well, and LinkedIn, Dr. Katashia, and Facebook actually as well. Dr. Katashia Wellness Collective.
Nice. I'll definitely post those in the show notes too. Again, thank you so much for being here and just sharing all this great, amazing information. You gave me a lot to think about. I love these type of conversations because they give me things to think about and say, okay, girl, you need to step your game up a little bit. You're doing this and that. but you need to step your game up, and just be a little bit more intentional. And so I want to encourage the listeners to do the same. Just be a little bit more intentional about your health. Be the CEO of your health and just take all these preventative measures so you don't have to wait and get the wait for the ball to drop and then try to do something about it when you can start now to prevent the things later. So
I
yeah.
want
So
to tell you thank you for having me, and also for your listeners, I'm going to send you the link as well for the sound therapy ebook. So they'll take a look at that, and just if they have
nice.
questions, they'll be able to talk about vibes that I mentioned, what it stands for in a session and what to expect. So I will give you that link so people can download that and take a look at it as well.
Thank you so much. I can't wait to share that and take a look too. I love that. So thank you again for being here. All right, everyone, that is it for this episode of Navigating Life After 40. I would love to hear your comments because this was an amazing conversation. So drop them in, I think, Apple and Spotify. You can leave comments. So please leave your comments. This will also go on YouTube, so you can leave comments there too. And you can also email me, hello@navigatinglifeafter40.com. Until next time, I will see you all later.
That's a wrap for this episode of Navigating Life After 40. I hope you enjoyed this conversation just as much as I did. If you love what you're hearing, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling generous, leave me a review on your favorite podcast platform. This helps me to reach more amazing women like yourself who are trying to navigate this amazing life. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, keep living your best life.